Okay, Miss Bonnie, thank you very much for being on Hypnotic Talks today. The intro I always do is I say, tell the audience your full name, tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we shall begin.
All right, my name is Miss Bonnie. That's my radio name, but my full name is Reverend Bonnie Naftzger. I live in the state of Ohio. I'm 75 years old. I've been doing my work for 41 years. I am a medium, trained medium. I am also a Reiki master and a Reiki teacher. I'm featured on the radio a weekly in California, very close to your area, which is
Yeah.
always nice to be close to home.
Yeah.
I do love my work. I also serve as a minister here in Ohio. It just means that I'm licensed to practice weddings and all that. Um, I'm fully in love with the work. Nothing much has changed as far as my love for it, except for that I continue to train.
Yes.
I have an intuitive arts institute that is nationally accredited where I teach others to do what I do because a good spiritual teacher only helps you to remember what you already know.
Absolutely.
So that's about everything.
All right, let's wrap up now. We're good to go. Let's see. Wow, so 41 years, that's
Yes.
amazing. Yeah, you've done so much work that you now reach the point where you teach others.
Yeah.
So, how the heck did you how do you know when the 41 years started? How about that? When was the official
Because
beginning? Yeah.
beautiful. Because at the age of 34, I began to work in coffee shops doing readings. So that's when the work started.
Okay. Yeah. So what was the difference between, doing readings in coffee shops and when the work started? Is that the same?
Well, so doing readings in coffee shops, I love what you just asked me. I just love what you asked me. Okay, is it okay if I say that? All right,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
thank you. Doing the readings in coffee shops, you probably know about the second visit from the Holy Spirit. In your 50s on the second hormonal shift, that's when you truly begin your work. That's when you step into your greatness. So in my 30s, I was obviously not in my greatness, but I was studying mediumship and I was just starting off. I was choosing the path is a little more difficult than the average job, but my faith was strong and I began to be featured on the radio. So that's what really kicked me into, people knowing kind of who I was. So somebody saw me at a coffee shop. They were looking for someone on the radio. So I went in the studio and, did what I do, my
Yes.
readings. And at the time I was using astrology and could calculate, the position and the ascendant based on what the caller would ask. I was also using a straight deck of cards when I started in the coffee shops. So I combined those two things and the radio just took off. I went from one station to 10, and then that went nationally and then globally. So that's how I grew. In my
Yeah.
50s, that's when the dead people showed up in my work. So I went to what I call a wise guy on a hill. I went to a wise person on the hill. I said, "What's up with the dead people?" And he asked me, he said, "Well, how old are you, my child?" And I said, 50. And that's when he told me about the second visit, where you get a chance to step into your greatness on the second hormonal shift. So that helped me to understand, because I was working for the Psychic Friends Network at the time. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're old enough to remember that, but that was with Linda Georgian and Dionne Warwick, and I was reading from movie stars. So I was I was having a great time. And then the dead people showed up in my work, and then everything shifted. And I started my serious training as a medium, no tools, right, going into the higher mind, shutting out the noise, and then
Yeah.
just waiting and listening and repeating.
So, what were the earliest, you know, hints for you that you had some kind of a gift that was different maybe than other people?
Okay, first hormonal shift, teenage years. That's the first visit from the Holy Spirit. I was already working with astrology, telepathy, uh, trying to work with my best friend on, if we would think of a color or we would turn a deck of cards over and figure out whether it was going to be clubs or spades or so already at 14 I knew something was a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then, I don't know, I didn't unlearn it. I appreciated it. I worked with it. And then, I don't know, life happened and I went into the field of law enforcement, believe it or not.
I believe it. There's a
And I
lot of
just, huh?
intuition. There's a lot of intuition required, I believe, in that.
Yes, corrections, the corrections field. And I discovered after all that time, it really wasn't for me. So as soon as I realized that, I wasn't in the right place, I still had to raise my two children. So I asked the universe for a job that would allow me to still hold my children. And then the phone rang and within 10 minutes, and it was, I call that a mother's prayer. Um, it was the Psychic Friends Network, and I was accepted out of 1,000 readers. And
Hmm.
then it just took off. So
Right.
that's kind of my story. That's really how it happened.
Right on. Yeah. So I'm gonna come at this from a point of view of someone who kind of doesn't know what you're talking about, you know? And that's
Hmm.
partially true and it's partially not, but it's more for the benefit of someone who would maybe be listening to this. Is, like what exactly is a medium? What do you do?
Okay, so a medium is a person who's capable of shutting down a part of their brain that carries MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Where's My Socks? We call that the spiritual left brain. And when you're trained to shut that down through meditation or prayer, whatever you choose, then the spiritual right brain can open up and you can literally hear, what needs to be heard. So the difference between a psychic and a medium is that a psychic will give you that wow factor. They normally go into the brain or into your brain or read your mind. And then you leave with a wow factor, but not necessarily direction.
Yes.
With a medium, we go out to the angels, we go out to spirit for information, and we totally wait, listen, and repeat. That's all we do. Someday I want to write a book, and it's going to be entitled Yada Yada, God Bless You, Goodbye.
Yeah.
Because so we just speak, first we have to shut down the brain, that part of the brain, so we can hear what comes in. Absolutely. So it's nothing but training. Anybody who's watching this can do what I do. I teach it. It doesn't necessarily make me any more special. I tell people that it's not that I'm gifted, it's that you're not alone. Because if you came to me and you were alone and there were no angels around you, I'd be out of a job,
Mhm.
right? I'd be
Indeed.
out of a job. I'd go,
Mhm.
okay, we've got Mary here and nobody's got her. Go to the next. That doesn't happen. And it hasn't happened in 41 years. So
Yes.
the whole message, the idea with mediumship is that you're not alone. That's really what it's about.
Interesting. Yeah, so why is that so important to know that we're not alone?
For most people who approach for guidance or any kind of counseling, they are either forgive me, they are either grief stricken and they feel alone because they've lost someone very important. That
Yes.
includes animals.
Yes.
If it has a soul, it can communicate. For the average Joe, just try to get by and trying to deal with whether it's their love life or their job. Sometimes their first response is not necessarily to go out to what you would call the creator. That isn't always their normal reflex. So they feel abandoned and they need answers and they can't get them on their own. They can't. So then they go to a medium who can access different dimensions through the process that I explained to you. And then that way they get the information they need.
Right. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about, in addition to, saying it's good to know we're not alone, I'm thinking about how the problems of the modern world seem to be like a lot of disconnection and a loss of a sense of meaning in our lives, to the point where I can imagine there's a lot of comfort, even if you don't, change someone's circumstances or, give them some kind of miracle, just to give them a sense of, I'm with you, everything's going to be okay, some kind of a sense of confirmation that they're ready
Exactly.
for something, instead of just
Right.
spinning around in that left brain forever, just going, I don't know what to do. Am I doing the right thing? Is everything okay? And just
Oh,
someone,
yeah.
I'm here to reassure you.
Yes. And it is comical when I'm done to try to get into a vehicle and drive because sometimes it takes a while to come down and, allow that left brain to function.
Yes.
So I virtually am capable of getting into a vehicle if I don't wait a little bit and I'm like looking at this thing going steering wheel. See,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a hypnotist, so I totally understand that,
yeah.
I have to make sure that someone is like fully out of a trance state and before
Yes,
before they leave the office and go drive a car. I want
exactly.
to be
It's an
sure that
adjustment.
absolutely.
I'm so glad you understand, but it is comical. I mean, I'm more than willing to laugh at myself. Absolutely. I mean, it's the process, but yes. So left brain, right brain, mediums work through the spiritual right brain, but the training is important. And my training originated at a place called Lilydale in New York, where a lot of the gifted mediums from England were coming over. So we were sequestered with a taskmaster, sometimes for 8 hours a day. It was brutal. We lost half our class the next day.
Yeah, you
Uh,
survived, huh?
well, the egos couldn't handle them.
Right.
For me, I wanted it. So, I mean, I was willing to put aside whatever his tone was because he had what I wanted. He had the wisdom I wanted. So I stuck through it. And to this day, I owe him big time because he was no nonsense. So
Yeah.
for people who are listening, whether you train with me or train with somebody else, please make sure they have credentials. Make sure that you can go on a website and see, I don't know, testimonials, something that people, it's like buying a car.
Hmm.
True. You go to your friend, hey, what did you think of this dealership? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because like in many fields, there's going to be the pretenders and the people with the real skills. And
Yes.
live in a world where everyone is selling you what they do, and some people are just really good at the selling part, and some people are actually good at, delivering the product, and those don't always necessarily go together. I mean, I meet people all the time. I just talked about about this with someone today where they do the I'm not good at sales, and I hear that so often. But then you get the other aspect of it, which is people just, even you could say social media is just a lot of people just pitching
Yes.
themselves, their personalities. I'm so
Right.
cool, focus on me, I'm so great. And then not really like delivering anything of substance, but they
Right.
distracted you for a while and maybe they gave you that wow factor that you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, I think I cannot stress enough the importance of the website and even Google reviews because I learned 5 years ago, I didn't even know about Google reviews. I'm an older person. I wasn't
Hmm.
with it. And I was getting calls and I'd say, well, how did you find me? That's how I always ask because of radio. And it wasn't San Luis Obispo. It
Yeah.
was Google. And after a while, I heard three or four people. So I contacted my web wizard. I said, what's up with Google? And he's like, Miss Bonnie, you're getting reviews. And I didn't even know.
Hmm.
So that's where I would go if I didn't have a friend to recommend, say, you to me.
Hmm.
I would go to your website. I would check you out on Google. There's even a thing called Trustpilot, where, that's to me is my front door, my website with the testimonials rolling across it,
Yes.
because I'm not good at selling myself,
Yeah.
but there's nothing like that to see even videos of people interviewed. I get emotional when I watch what they say about the work.
Yes.
I don't consider it that they're saying it about me. To me, it's about the work. But yes, please go to the person's website, check out testimonials, go to Google. Google's a great place.
Hmm.
I'm learning now. It's a great place to find out, what people think.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, what have been some of the lessons that you've learned over the years? Because you do the work, I'm sure it's rewarding for you, and I'm interested to learn more about it. And but I'm wondering like how it has changed you as a person to be tapped into this.
I learned how to fight f for what I believe. I learned because I was attacked a lot in the beginning, back, when wheels were square and dinosaurs roamed the earth.
Yeah.
This whole thing, this process wasn't exactly well accepted. So I would be in a coffee shop and people would actually walk right up to me and, give me the thing about, do you believe in Jesus Christ as your personal savior? And
Hmm.
as an ordained minister and as a Reiki master, if you really know what Reiki is, you're channeling the Christ light.
Yes.
So, but I was in my 30s and I was vulnerable and I was insecure because I was young. So I have learned that it's worth fighting for your training, not bragging. It's
Hmm.
kind of like if you think about the martial arts, you don't learn to hurt somebody, you learn to be able to what? Defend yourself, right?
Yes.
So spiritually, I was experiencing a lot of Mr. Miyagi moments where I
Hmm.
had a decision to make. Do I run and hide, or do I speak my truth and peacefully tolerate, what's coming at me? My biggest lesson was the Jerry Springer show. Do you remember Jerry Springer?
Oh yeah. I always have an image of people throwing chairs at each other when I hear that.
Yeah, yeah. I was chosen out of the thousand readers to read for the Jerry Springer show, and the head of the network was on with him, and they had me on remotely. And at the time, I had read for Adam West, Phyllis Diller. I had done all these readings. And so I was fortunate enough, I thought, to be chosen. So she was on, the head of the network, and Jerry Springer, the producer, was going to call me at a certain time. And I was kind of used to that because of the movie stars.
Yeah.
And I answered the phone. Hello, this is Miss Bonnie. And the person said, well, I want a reading. I said, I'm so sorry. I would love to take care of you, but I'm waiting for a call from the Jerry Springer show. And all of a sudden, I heard a voice. And I heard, this is the Jerry Springer show. And if you're so psychic, oh my goodness, you know. And you hear all this audience laughter.
Wow. Wow, that's great.
Yeah. And I had a choice. I could run away, hang up the phone, maybe even cry a little because I'm cancer rising, very sensitive. Or I could fight. And
Hmm.
I fought. I did. And I made it through that show. I made it through. So, but that was the biggest lesson I learned was to fight gently, peacefully, Mr. Miyagi style,
Hmm.
um, to fight for what you understand to be your place on this planet based on the results of your work. So if your work brings joy, if your work brings peace, if your work brings enlightenment, healing, whatever you do on this planet, as long as you're improving the human or the animal condition on this planet, I don't think anybody should ever try to take that away or, or besmirch that at all. It's going to happen, but
Hmm.
I just recommend that people just fight for what they know is authentic. So that
Yes.
was the biggest lesson I learned was to fight.
Interesting. All right. I'm gonna take that message for myself. And I'm hearing that now, and I'm like, I think that's a little message for you, Jesse. Fight
There
for what
you
you
go.
believe in.
Yeah, because you're going to get, when you carry light, you're going to carry things that are not of light. And I say it that way because angels don't speak negatively. Like they don't say darkness. They'll actually go so far as to say not light, just so they can use the word light. Excuse me. So, when you have light, you will attract people of light, but you'll also what? Attract people who are not of light. And if they can't figure you out or they can't relate to the light, they're going to challenge it with everything they have,
Yes.
right? So if you face that or the naysayers, I was trained in hypnotherapy, not as extensively. I took a very short course at Lilydale and I loved it. So what you do, God bless you for what you do, because you're actually because you're counting with your patients. That's the left brain. That's what puts the left brain, count backwards from 10, 9,
Hmm.
8. That left brain is grabbing that like it's Christmas. What? 10, 9, what are we on? And then the right brain goes, "Psst, I think he's busy. I can breathe now." So that's how
Exactly.
this whole thing works, right? I know you
Yes.
understand that. So yeah,
Hmm.
I would just recommend that you fight. Absolutely. Especially if it brings joy and especially if it's doing good on this planet.
Is that a message that often comes through when you're doing mediumship for people?
No.
No?
uh, what comes through for the client, like professionally, I'm speaking to you professionally as well to fight for what you know is
Yeah.
good work. I'm addressing light workers at this point, people who are doing the kind of work that we do or
Yes.
work that brings light. Um, I like when I get interviewed, I like to stretch the message
Yes.
so that no matter who's listening, hopefully somebody gets something that they can take back with them
I
from.
see what you mean. Because instead of it being a completely focused message for a specific individual in the world, you're
Mhm.
talking about the big patterns that, everyone,
Yes.
basically universal truths rather than particular ones.
Yes. When I'm working, it's all about the client.
Hmm.
When I'm on the radio, a caller calls in and they have one question, say they do. But I always try to stretch the message because who wants to be on in their car listening to someone's prom date? I'm not getting anything out of that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
True.
Because
But
of course
when
what
I,
happens, even when we're listening to any kind of a story, the reason why we empathize with it, the reason why we love storytelling, watching movies, is what we're doing is we're putting ourselves in the shoes of the people that we're watching, listening to, and we're going, I
yes.
can understand that. I can imagine what that would be like if that was me. So of course, yeah,
Mhm.
when they're listening to a reading, they're thinking, I'm sure there's a lot of people who have like maybe a similar problem in their life, because
Mhm.
I mean, let's face it, not all human beings are so original. What I mean by that is that we have a lot of the same fears, a lot of the same problems, you know what I mean? So you can kind of extrapolate from one particular person. I don't know, they live in Los Angeles and you live in Boston, but it doesn't matter because you're going, hey, I
Right.
lost a loved one as well.
Yes. Yes, you're so right. And I'm in Ohio, so when I broadcast in California, I'm literally over 2,000 miles away when I'm working, but I don't have to be with you. Plus, I will tell you, and I recommend it, if you are medium in me into mediumship or serving as a medium, I work with my eyes closed. And I learned that from a great teacher years ago because it completely blanks out any possible distractions. The ego goes to sleep. There's nothing to look at, right? So I recommend working with your eyes closed. I do. If you're in mediumship, I highly recommend that. And
Yeah,
but I just
and
do.
I think it was like a just a guess, but I remember hearing this fact one time where someone was like 80% of the sensory information you're taking in is visual. So then when you delete that, it allows for the other stuff to come up more. Like
Yes,
just like you were
which
saying with the left brain turn
yes.
off.
Right. So the left brain is the one that's the judge. So you basically just shut that down. So I do recommend, and actually, the fact that my eyes are closed, I used to have an office. I had one for 20 years. And when I closed it, my clients were locally. Nationally, I was doing fine. They don't need that because they've been doing it.
Mhm.
But my local people, Miss Bonnie, I want to see you. And I remind them, what are you going to do? You sit in front of me. My eyes are closed.
Right. What's the
How
difference?
boring is that?
Yeah.
I don't need to have you near me. I go out there. So
Yeah.
as long as I'm trained to go out there, it doesn't matter where we are. I have clients all over the world, and it's exciting, different countries, and I love listening to the accents and you know,
hmm Yeah. I mean, that's something I tell people as well as I go, because there's a lot of people who really crave that sense of, closeness physically, which I
hmm
understand, it's a natural human thing. But I'll tell people, I'll say, the whole work that I do is communication. And
right.
communication, all it really requires, I was like, we could do this over the phone if you would like. I get some information. I do like to observe people, and that's part of my work. It's also more fun for me to look at people, but I just go,
Sure.
this whole work is really just sound and sight, and all of that can be done online. There's a
Yes.
lot of people who, they go, they talk down about like technology, and I just go, technology, if you're using it for healing, it's amazing. It connects everyone together.
Well, yes. So when I teach privately, like say the way we're talking right now. This is how I conduct a class. Then the student has to see me, but a client doesn't have to see me.
Mhm.
All they have to do is, call me at the time of the appointment. I've already prayed, I'm prepared, and I close my eyes. They can't see me closing my eyes, but I am. And then I just go out where I need to go, whether it's the angelic realm for everyday issues or whether it's loved ones. They're different dimensions. And I have learned not to try to do both of those things. I used to do both in one reading. I
Hmm.
used to make that available to people where they could half the reading, they could, ask a question of their angels. The other half, they could ask to speak to someone or to hear from someone. And I learned, so for those who are listening, don't do that.
Yeah.
It's always best. I call that high school and college. If you're going to go to college and one day you just take those classes, you're in that dimension, right? If you're going to
Yes.
go to high school, then don't mix up your courses because those are two different dimensions. And it's for a while, I was actually doing it within one reading. Then I changed to two kinds of readings, but I was doing them on the same day. So I was switching dimensions every half hour. And then I
Yes.
thought, well, this is kind of silly. So I learned how to value myself enough. It was so hard. I cringed when I did it, but I
Mm,
assigned my readings now. So I do angel readings on Fridays and Sundays, and I do loved ones readings on Saturdays. And I hold to those dimensions. I hold to that.
I see what you mean because they're different. It's a different kind of message,
They're
and
different
you
kinds of messages in different dimensions.
and you
Absolutely.
don't want to give the receiver the impression. In other words, you don't want to give them mixed messages. Get them
I
blended.
can, in other words, I can do it, but it's exhausting. So
Okay.
because I'm learning, really learning how to value myself, I no longer allow myself to, I have a passport, go to Europe, and then suddenly I'm in the US again, within a half hour's time.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
changing dimensions is kind of like that. It's kind of like traveling.
Yes. So you had to
Um,
fight for yourself in a different way there because you had to learn how to not
yeah.
just do everything that people are asking of you, but to know how to not exhaust yourself.
Yes, and I learned it very late in life, and I try not to beat myself up over that. I try to realize, yeah, but the point is you're here now and this is what you're doing. So for those of you who are most likely way younger than I, if you're listening to this or watching Jesse, um, make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure that you choose the nature of the dimension that you're working with. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to say, hey, guess what? On this day, I'm painting houses. And on this day, guess what? On this day, I'm going grocery shopping. And
Hmm.
I'm not going to try to do both in the same day. It's really that simple. But when you want to serve the drug, it's not about the money. It never has been. When you want to serve, there's there's an incredible hunger to serve when you want to serve. So when you know there are people out there who are hurting, it's just natural to say, no, no, it's okay. I'll take care of you. But you
Yeah.
got to take care of yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I literally just had a session that was about this theme. So this is really weird that we're having this like
This is great.
same conversation.
Well, this is great.
Yeah, it's like having the same conversation over again. Like I was preparing for for this right now. Mhm.
Yeah, the angels were getting us both ready, I think.
I suppose so. Yeah, because I feel like it's a message for me that I'll take from it. When you get, I'm sure you understand even in your personal life, not when you're just, doing readings, but when you're picking up messages from the world around you and noticing patterns, that I take all the patterns as a message. I hear if something happens to me 3 times in a day, and it all seems to be around some kind of theme, I would go, hey, if this was a movie, I would go, what's the theme of this movie right now? And I go, the theme of the
Right,
day is trying to tell me something.
right, right. And that's perfect the way you describe that. And angels, they communicate as a thought. So the ego processes that. I think I should do this,
Yes.
but it's really not us, it's them. So they come in as a
Yeah.
thought. And there's even such a thing as I call it being sideswiped by an angel.
Hmm.
Sounds like an oxymoron, but
Yeah.
where, where you see this, like you said, 3 times, it's presented to you. How much does the universe, how hard does the universe have to work, right? To give
Yes.
us a hint. How much do we need, right? Three
Yeah.
times is enough, right?
So, so angels are always talking to us.
Yeah, they said, oh, always sending thoughts. Absolutely. And there is a way to hear those. That's what I teach. What I do, it's amazing how easy it is to learn how to communicate with your angels. And people say, well, you're putting yourself out of a job. It's like, look, God will send me somebody else,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. Yeah, there's always
So,
someone else.
well, then I have an angel store on the website that where I have MP3s that teach people
Hmm.
how to do the small part of what I do, not how to communicate with loved ones, but just it's and it's a breathing technique that you probably are, it's earth breathing. It's the simplest thing, but basically it involves shutting down the left brain.
Yes.
And you ask, and the hardest part is the first thought you get, that's them. Jesse, there is always a second thought.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Why would you do that? That's always there. Even now, when I'm working, that left brain, every now and then it goes, hey, psst, this is crazy, you know. You can't be doing that. But now, the more I hear it, the more I insist on repeating what I'm receiving.
Yeah. Well, because you said the left part is a judge. So
Yes,
something comes in automatically, and then there's the opinion about it. So for me, I would say, I don't know what you feel, that that's just the structure of our consciousness. So it's not like it's bad to always have that second
no,
thought. That's just
no.
the way it works. But sometimes I think what happens is we some people skip past that first thought and pretend it never happened, and then they just go, the second thought is the real one. That, that criticizing one is the real one.
Yeah, the questioning one. And when I
Mhm.
teach workshops on speaking with your angels, it's exactly what I use. You know, I teach them a technique. Say you have to get a meatloaf because somebody asked you in an emergency for a baby shower. And so you do the process that I teach. And the first thought is, well, go to say, I'm going to use a name, Giant Eagle. But then the left brain kicks right in and goes, that's crazy. There's a Heinen's right here on the corner. What are you doing? Now, if I go to Heinen's, am I going to find that meatloaf? I'm going to find it where they told me to go.
Right.
Okay, so it's the first thought that you're supposed to take. But I can tell you, even it never stops. Even now, that left brain's every now and then it tries to throw a curve.
Hmm.
So when you're working for people who are watching, when you're working with mediumship, or even if you're just learning, that left brain, that is part, like you said, it's part of the human condition. It's part of the consciousness, state of consciousness. That's what it is. And it's going to be there. And in a way, it's kind of proof that your brain is working, in a
Yeah.
way.
Right. I mean, because it creates the balance. If we didn't have any of those second thoughts, we just
Right.
lose control of ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, right?
Well,
Like
yeah.
having something out of balance.
Well, and there's a place for that. I mean, there's a place for MasterCard, Visa, American Express, where's my socks? How do I drive my car? Write a check. There's a place for that. It's just that, the ideal place for mediumship is in the left in the left brain going to sleep. That's the concept.
Yeah.
I tell people it's like if you say you and I were hired to, I don't know, clean a lion's cage. We both go in there and we're going to go get what? The juiciest steak you've ever seen, the biggest, and we're going to throw that steak so far into that cage.
Mhm.
That's the same thing as counting backwards 10, 9, 8, feeling sleepy, 7. It's the same thing as throwing that steak in the cage and the lion goes after it, and then we can what? Clean the cage. It's the same principle.
Yes. I find that interesting because there's an implication there that since you're getting one part of the consciousness awareness out of the way, it's as if that it's usually covering something. So it needs to be uncovered. In other words, it's as if there's something that's always present but needs to
Yes.
be revealed, like a
Yeah.
like a deeper layer, like imagine
Yeah.
like a light that's been hidden. The light's always there.
Yes.
So in other words, it's not like you have to make something happen that wasn't already happening. You just
Right.
reveal it.
Right. And you're just, you know, tuning out the noise, right? You're just tuning out the noise, the chatter, so you can hear what's coming in on, it's like AM and FM.
Yes.
I hope that's not an old expression these days, but
Sort of.
I'm sorry.
No, that's
So
fine.
for the young people out there, yeah, AM and FM, it's just two channels.
Absolutely. AC and DC.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Or radio stations,
Yes.
trying to play two different radio stations at once. The loudest one is the one you're going to hear, right?
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't mean the other one isn't still playing though,
Right.
right?
hmm Yeah,
So,
because people have often used that metaphor because it's really good. It's the idea that like right now, I think like where I'm sitting, there's radio waves, but there needs to be an instrument to pick them up and read them. So they're present right
wow.
now. I just, I can't see radio waves, but there's
No,
music in my room. There's music happening.
sure. Right. Exactly.
And then maybe if I had like a like a tooth or whatever that was accidentally radio, then I'd be like, I'm hearing someone talking inside my
What
skull.
is this? What are these voices?
And maybe, and not to get into a weird subject, but perhaps there are some people in this world who are somewhat overwhelmed by information coming in, and they have a weak second thought. They have a weak left brain, and all they get is just information pouring in, and they don't know how to balance it out.
It is said that in insane asylums, there was a study done way back that 60% of the patients there were mediums,
Yes.
but they were locked up because they would hear voices or they would have thoughts, that nobody could explain,
Yes.
so they just said, well, you're crazy. That's how the world was even back like, I don't know, 40 years ago. It was, oh no, lock them up. Now we'll give them drugs, right?
hmm
Then they just lock people up.
Yeah. It's like
I'm sure.
oddly enough, it's like the drugs work by dulling your whole awareness.
Hmm.
So of course you're just going to be less aware. You're going to be numbed. So,
Yeah,
numbing something means you can't feel.
exactly.
It's going to work, but it doesn't mean it's the best thing.
Exactly.
Like if someone uh, numbs a part of my arm, I can't feel pain, but I wouldn't be able to feel anything else either, right?
Healing, and you don't know if you're injuring it
Yeah. Right, because
because
pain
it's
is
numb.
information, is it not? It is letting us know something is wrong.
Exactly. There's a reason for the awareness. And everything in my mind, at least, or my thought, everything has a job. We need both. It's
Yes.
just that if you're going to shut out the noise to hear, you need to be trained to do that, you know.
I'm not saying this is something you recommend to anyone or even if it's part of your teaching, but do you personally have like a meditation or some kind of spiritual practice that you do on a regular basis that
I
tunes
do
you
yoga
in?
every morning. I've done
Yeah.
it for 30 years. I have the mat at the foot of my bed. It's 22 asanas, continuous flow. And after the yoga, I set my intention for the day
Yes.
every day. And when I do that, I'm setting my subconscious mind toward, good positive thought. So I basically, believe it or not, without coffee, I wake up happy every day.
Nice. That would just be
Okay.
a goal for a lot of people to do that. You haven't
I
even
guess
you haven't even done anything yet, you know?
that's true. I guess I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
People will say, why are you always so happy? And it's like, because I'm grateful.
Yes.
I'm grateful. But I start my day with yoga, and at the end of the stretches, I set my intention for the day. And I always, even today, this interview this morning when I got up, part of the intention was, excellent results. I set this day toward my intentions toward like excellent results with Jesse, good communication,
Absolutely.
in hopes that people will learn a lot. I did that this morning, many, many hours ago.
Yeah. So let's let that intention unfold itself. And I'm going to ask you out of nowhere, what is something that's part of good communication, something that would be really important for people to learn? that you want to make sure that you tell people today? If we haven't said it yet,
Let me see what they want me to say, okay?
yeah.
Okay, here we go. Here's the message. Incoming. Don't ever sell out for money. Always take the hardest path if it leads to what you believe is true. Um, make
Yeah.
sure, make sure that you honor yourself and make sure that you stay connected to wherever you consider to be your creator. That's what they said.
Right on. Thank you.
Oh, they said you're welcome. You're welcome.
Uh, I find that interesting. What do you think about that now that we have our second thoughts?
I actually don't know what I just said, so I guess I'm going to ask you what you think. I don't remember. I just wait, listen, and repeat.
Yeah.
So I say it as they give it to me as a thought, and then it's gone.
Yeah,
So, and I'm not making this up. This is really how the work is.
absolutely.
So what was
Yeah.
your,
I'm
can
I'm
you
s- I'm
read
in a
it
little
back
bit
to
of
me what they said? I don't remember.
a I don't have access to my transcript at the moment, but there is
Oh,
something about doing something that's really hard, even though because it's worth it because you're honoring yourself. Almost like what you said about fighting for what you believe in before.
oh, okay.
And I like
Well, I'm
that
glad they
because
agree with me.
I know, every once in a while we disagree. Um, but I like that because I personally like to I believe in and want to tell people that you can do things even when they're hard. There's this tendency to want to do things the easy way and the efficient way, and we sell ourselves out. And that was the first thing. There it was. Do not sell yourself out for money.
Okay, do not sell out. That would make sense. They talk about that a lot to people, especially people who are trapped in their job, but it's always about money. And
Yes.
there's technically not any money in heaven. They don't even honor it there. And I only know that as a medium because there's always some guy wandering
Yeah.
around. You can't cash a
Yeah.
check here. My money's no good here.
Yeah, your money. I was gonna say your money's no good here.
Your
There's
money's
people
no
always
good
say
here.
that.
So I think the important thing is whatever they said, the important thing I think would be how it made you feel when you heard it.
Yes.
That's just my sense with
Yes.
the work. Is it, does it bring you light? Does it bring you any kind of wisdom? Does it bring you joy or peace? It's the same thing that I think that I
Hmm.
might have mentioned before when you're
Yes.
doing this kind
I,
of work.
I've heard the same thing about dream interpretation, to not get too hung up on the symbolism of a dream. Like some people get really into, like, I got to look up in the dream dictionary. And I'm like, that's not where the information is. The most important thing is, I don't care what the symbol was, but if you felt terrified or if you felt
Right.
elated and it's the same symbol, guess what's the most important information is the difference in how you felt in the dream.
Right. Because I mean, I can dream about a chicken, and it's my subconscious's way of telling me something about my spiritual, mental, or emotional or physical health. And you can dream about a chicken, and it can mean a whole different thing.
Yes.
It's the way that your subconscious processes symbols. So
Hmm.
to look in a book, I'm not sure you and I, would benefit
Yeah, you'd just
because
be reading someone else's dreams, right?
it'd be somebody else's chicken, right?
Exactly. Someone else's chicken. You don't want to ever be eating other people's
That
chicken.
needs to be a book.
No, you
Someone
don't
else's
want to,
chicken.
you don't want to do that. Yeah. And I think there might be a lot of people in this world who are eating other people's chickens. And what I mean
Oh,
is
yeah. And
that they're
yes,
going,
or they're
reaching into,
coveting other people's chickens. Or they're people what you call like a wannabe. And I always tell people, don't be a wannabe, be an is. If you can't be what you would like to be with someone else's inspiration, then be the best you can be.
yeah,
That's the best gift you can give yourself is to be the best you can be, not what somebody else is doing. even this thing about mission, improving the human or the animal condition. You and I could be on the corner somewhere in San Luis Obispo with vegetarian hamburgers, flipping hamburgers, and we are in some way, shape, or form, we are in mission. We are improving the human condition. You don't have to be Mother Teresa to do that. And that's something else I would love to tell people today,
Yes.
people who are even approaching this work. It, not everybody's going to be Cleopatra in a past life, right?
Hmm.
True. So everybody has a place and everybody has value. And whether your work is, like my work is, over time that kind of grew a little bit. Whether it's just starting off, whether you are accomplished at what you do, you still have a lot to offer. And if
Yes.
your heart is sincere and if your training is steady, that's all you need.
Yeah, because like it's like what else are you going to do? I can imagine there's people who their heart is sincere, but then they almost abandon and betray their own heart and sell it out because they're going, what is someone else doing that I'm supposed to be doing? How do I
Right,
copy other people and be successful in the ways that
right.
they are? And then all you're doing is losing yourself in the process.
Yes, yes, it's so true. And especially when it comes to money, the angels talk a lot about flipping your fraction. So I don't know if you young people still do fractions, but
Yeah,
if you
improper.
do, the top number for most people is a dollar sign. The bottom is mission.
Mhm.
It's money over mission. It's not, that's how people have to survive. You have kids, you got to eat. It's not until you flip your fraction where the mission becomes primary and the money is secondary. That's when the universe goes, oh, look at that. They figured out they had a V8. Oh, give them the money. The
Yeah.
money shows up anyway.
Yes.
But people don't always want to risk that and they don't want to let go of that. Sometimes it's nature, most of the time it's nurture.
Hmm.
Somebody else's voice, father, you gotta work hard for a living. You gotta have headaches when you get home, right?
Exactly. No pain, no gain, and all of that.
Oh yeah, there's a good one right there.
Yeah, I like the flipping the fraction thing. Because I'll tell you from my heart being sincere, something I really believe in is, at least it's in my own journey, right? I'm not preaching to anyone, is that I really believe in life being an adventure,
Hmm.
and an adventure requires courage, and it is difficult, and it is worth all the effort if you honor yourself at the end of that adventure. And it's
Hmm.
not about safety.
No.
Because I'm guessing that's what the money worry is with people, is that money represents safety of some kind, and the fear of losing money
Yes.
be about just losing your security.
I remember, your voice is remarkably peaceful and soothing, and it makes me want to say something that I probably haven't said to anybody who's ever interviewed me, and I've had a few of these. When I was in one of those coffee shops in the corner doing my readings, I had just gone through a divorce, and I did that. I left because it was a situation where we had food and money, and then God and family, and it was just not, we just had the wrong, different values, I guess.
Yeah.
But my friend came up to me, running up to my table. I've got an inside sales job for you. It's $30,000 a year. It's yours. I'm giving it to you. You can have it. And I closed my eyes for a second and I opened them and I looked at her and I said, God got me this far. God will get me the rest of the way. She was shocked, absolutely mortified, not offended, just shocked that because her life was about money and my life was about the work. Do you know what I mean? But that's
Yes.
the kind of faith I had. And I did make it the rest of the way, and it taught my kids, in my mind, I'm teaching my kids that you don't have to always live just for money because that's not living, that's surviving.
Absolutely. Because it's funny how people even use the term to sell your soul or to sell out because that's like an economic term.
Yeah, it sounds
It's
like
about,
a,
yeah,
yeah, like a
and well,
transact,
yeah,
right, like a
it's
transaction.
making a deal with the devil, that old thing of, the
Hmm.
devil will give you a little bit if you just give him your eternal soul. That's
Oh,
all.
that's all he wants.
And then he'll just give you, and then probably he just tricks you anyway in the long run because you've lost your soul. It's the ultimate trick in the book, The rug's been pulled
Yeah.
out from underneath your feet.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, all that glitters is not, in fact, here,
yeah,
my patients can never, or my clients can never see this, but this is pyrite
yes.
and it's fool's
Cool.
gold. A lot of people got killed over this during the gold rush. But pyrite, excuse me, stones are very much alive. They're more alive than material that we wear their clothes. There's a lot of atoms in here whizzing around, so we know that because it's solid. So stones have energy and they target different areas of the body according to the color of the stone. I know you know about chakras.
Hmm.
So anyway, pyrite is used for brain power. So this is one of the stones that I hold when I pray, when I prepare. And I started off with a real little one, like this. Now I have this.
It's getting bigger.
Yeah. Yes, because the work got bigger and it, you know what I mean? And the amount of the work grew. And yeah, so I still have that little piece of pyrite
Mhm.
somewhere in a little bag, a little velvet bag. I kept
Yeah.
it
You're
to
like
remind me.
the opposite of Superman. It's the stone that you do need to touch to give you your power back, right?
Well, and I've always said that only God has the power, but that's just how I feel. But I have to say that there's a lot to be said for energy and science and the way the body responds to molecules and atoms, there's a
Yes.
lot to be said for the science, even sound, the solfeggio concept, resonance. There's a lot to be said for that, even the power of the voice, the spoken word.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as this song comes to a close that we've been singing together, um, I'd like to give you the opportunity to let people know about all your full range of services and
Oh,
if they're more interested in how to find you, your website, and so on.
thank you. That's very generous. So the website is bonnie444.com, BONNIE 444.com. On the website, there are many, many pages, but if you want to get a reading, you click on phone readings. If you want to study, you click on the Intuitive Arts Institute. If you want to get an MP3 and learn how to talk to your angels, you click on the Angel Store. The first thing you will see is my face just welcoming you, and the testimonials will be rolling, horizontally across so you can kind of read. But there are radio clips there. You can hear me on the air, so
Hmm.
you can hear what it sounds like to have a reading. Everything is there for you. I currently am running a discount code. Thank you. I almost forgot. If you decide to order a reading, whether you choose an angel reading or a loved one's reading, and keep in mind, loved ones, they're not divine. They can't guide you.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But whatever you choose, if you type in Mayday 26, you'll get $10 off your reading. And that is a courtesy to your viewers. So that's something to think about too. Yeah,
Absolutely.
bonnie444.com. That's in the 444 is for the angels. So I like to keep that vibe where I work, wherever I go. Thank you for that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for this opportunity for me to spend another hour of my day having an interesting conversation with an interesting person. So thank you for being here.
Well, you're interesting too, and I will bid you adieu. Namaste to you, my friend.
Thank you very much.